All right, take 3. So, I'm not a cameraman. I'm trying, but I'm really not. But anyways, so we're here, video 3 of the reloading series that I'm trying to get out to you guys. This is going to be about component selection, and so we're just going to jump right into it. I mentioned earlier, we need a couple of components. We need a brass casing, we need some bullets, and I got a lot of those that we can bust out in a minute. We need powder, and we need primers. And so the culmination of reloading is putting all those things together and all that good stuff. So I actually have notes so I can try to stay on topic today. I know that's really odd for me to say, but that's okay. So brass, we're going to talk about brass. I'm going to use some 308 brass just because the size of it, a little bit bigger than some of the other stuff I've got, so it's easier to see. So you got to make sure you got the right brass for the right caliber. It says it on the head stamp here on the end of the casing. What kind of brass it is. It usually says the brand and the caliber. So make sure that's number one. You gotta make sure you have the right caliber. You gotta make sure you pick a reputable company. Good or decent factory ammo usually uses either their own brass or a good brass to begin with, but it doesn't always equal good reloads. And so, like, I've shot Remington ammo before, and it shot really well, but when I went to reload that brass, it did not shoot well. It just didn't do good for my rifle. And so we also have range pickup brass, all the just randomness that you find at the range. Not ideal if you're trying for precision, but for like my AR shooting and things like that, when we're just going out blasting and I'm trying to hit minute of man out to 200 or 300 yards, it's totally fine. Some of the companies that you need to look for when you're looking at quality, and I'm going to ruffle some feathers just right off the bat with the first one, Hornady. If you can buy the same batch, lot number, whatever you call it, and have similar brass like that, like it was all made at the same time, it's pretty good. It's not bad at all. Next one is Norma. No doubt that one's really high quality. Federal, I've not had good luck with Federal. Some people have. And so that's another good one. The loaded ammo that you get from them is really good, whereas I've not been able to reload that brass very well. Nosler makes some really good stuff. Starline, I've not used it, but I do have about 1,000 brand new Starline brass out in the garage ready to go. Weatherby makes some really good stuff, but you generally only see that. I've actually never seen the brass for sale, but I've seen it in loaded ammunition, and then you can reload it after that. They make some good stuff. Don't know if they make it or if another company makes it for them. Lapua, however you want to say it, probably the best. Yeah, I'll say it. As far as I know, and I'm not the master reloader, but I've been doing this a long time, it's the best. It's the most consistent. And then Remington makes brass as well. There's a few others. There's other countries that make big batches of ammo, things like that. You know, there's boutique brands, but they usually get made by other people. And so good brands equals good results because consistency. And so I'm going to show you these 3 cases here. These are sized, resized back to manufacturing spec or SAMI spec, and they look exactly the same. They've been trimmed, they've been chamfered and deburred and falling out of my hands, but these things are ready to go. But the problem is, and these are Lake City, which is a government contract, so this is surplus ammo. Lake City, year, and it's LR for long range, year 18, 13, and 10. So these are from 3 different times of manufacturing. They use the same process, but I picked these 3 specifically because these have different weights. Even though dimensionally they are the same, and this is for all you cool cats and kittens, pay attention. Dimensionally, these are the same. However, when you go to reload, one of these weighs up to 8 grains more than the other ones. Another one weighs about 3 grains lighter or more than the lightest one. And so you've got a wide range. Well, if the outside dimensions are exactly the same and you've got a weight difference, what's the difference? Case wall difference in thickness, and then the web, the difference between the thickest part of the brass here, where the primer comes in, it's got the flash hole that goes into the main chamber. The web there is going to be thicker or thinner, thereby making it heavier or lighter. And so your differences are going to be more or less powder is going to be able to go in there, and then more or less pressure is going to be created. And that's why when I say get good brass, if you're trying for precision, you want precision type brass, you want the same lot, you want all that good stuff. Make it as as uniform as possible so as to eliminate a poor result because of a variable that you could have controlled. All right? So, on to the next one since I've talked forever about that one already. Primers. The right primer for the right brass. Large rifle, large pistol, small pistol, and magnums. Not that, I'm talking about primers. Magnum primers. Back to the rifle primers. So small magnum, large magnum, things like that. And so I only shoot 223, 6.5 Grendel, 308, 9mm, 22. That's really all I've got. And so it keeps my selection really low. I've got small rifle, which I use in 223 and 6.5 Grendel. These are not magnum primers, they're not bench rest, that's another thing you can look for. Bench rest, supposedly, I've not confirmed this with the company, but they put more attention and more quality control into the bench rest primers, so they're a little bit better, they're more consistent. I don't have those for small rifle, so I use regular CCI number 400 small rifle primers for 223 and 6.5 Grendel, and then for 308 I use a large rifle primer. Not to derail too much, you can get like 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, 6mm Creedmoor, things like that in small or large rifle primers. That's a whole nother topic, and I'm not qualified to discuss that. I don't understand. You get about the same results as far as I can tell. But anyways, so here I have large rifle primers, BR2 from CCI. These are bench rest primers. This is all they had. I don't normally buy these, and these were a lot more expensive than the regular primers. Pre-pandemic, I was getting 100 primers for about $2.99 to $3.50, depending on where you go and how many you buy. I paid $9 for this 100. It's a lot. It was too much, but I need them, and so I paid them, and that's what the market demanded. So, not going to spend a lot of time on primers. Put those over to the side. Then we have powder. All right, variables on powder. There's a lot of different kinds of powders, but this is what matters, and I'm going to tell you, you don't need to dive in it too much if you're just starting. If you've already been going a little bit, you need to start looking at the differences. You need to look at burn rate. How fast or slow does this powder burn compared to others? You need to look at the temperature sensitivity. I'm in Texas right now, and I'm reloading and going to go shoot this week at 90+ degrees. But if I take this up to Colorado, where I frequent and where I just moved from, and I go to 11,000 feet and it's 60 degrees, what's going to be the difference? All right. Generally, with colder weather, you're going to get slower velocities. But if I reload there and expect a result and come down here at 90 degrees, it could spike the temperature sensitivity will spike the pressure and create a problem. And so you have to understand those things. That's why they tell you to look in the books, the reloading manuals, stick to that stuff. And if you're going to be shooting in a really hot area, maybe bring it down a half to a full grain, but you need to do your own research on that. So we got burn rate, temperature sensitivity. Make sure you've got the intended caliber ranges. Certain powders work really well for certain calibers. They do not work well with others, such as a small case fast powder or like a 223 or something like that. And then you've got large case magnums, which are like 300 Win mags and things like that. The same powders are not going to be okay with that. And so brands for that, you've got Hodgdon, IMR, Alliant, Winchester, Shooter's World, Ramshot, Vitavori. I think I forgot one, but that's okay. And so I'll show you some of the stuff I've got. Like this is called Reloader 15. This is from Alliant. I use this in 308, and I can also use this in 223. This is a good general use powder. Make sure if you're reloading for a different caliber than those, even if you're reloading for those, you need to go look it up and see what this is good for and if it's going to work for you. The other one I use this is a Hodgdon powder, CFE 223, copper fouling eraser. This keeps my barrels pretty clean. This is not super temperature stable, but it does really well with my 6.5 Grendel, and it's really good with 223. And so I've got dual purpose powders, as you can tell. And then I also have from IMR, which is another brand, 8208 XBR. This is pretty temperature stable, but pressure spikes are very common if you load too much, and so you've got to be careful with that. And so everything's got its all these different things you have to look out for, all these different things you've got to think about. That's why we're going to tell you, especially if you're just starting and reloading, use the manual. Look in these companies' manuals and see what the load data is there. And don't go, hey bro, I know you have a 6.5 Grendel too, what's your load? Well, that may be all well and good, that may work out. but generally speaking, a load is only good for your rifle. And I'll tell you that after I go over what the next thing is. Only thing left on the table, but I'm still going to use my notes. Bullets. So you got different kinds of bullets. Cheap does not equal consistent. And I say that because I'm going to have to hold this up on a piece of paper so you can probably see it. If I can hold it. So I got a little 5.56 bullet here. I'm going to see if I can get you to see that. So I've got a little 5.56 bullet there. Tiny little bullet. And then when you compare that to things like a 178 boat tail hollow point, I'm going to really illustrate the difference here. That is a 55 grain bullet. That is a 178 grain bullet. And then I've got some 168 grain bullets right there. And so they're different sizes. The sizes are irrelevant right now. What matters most is, what are you trying to do? So 55 grain soft point, which I'll go over in a second, does different than 178 grain. They're different calibers, things like that. So anyways, I digress back to my notes because I want to make sure I stay on track. So, I said it before, cheap does not equal consistent. These little cheap bullets, I think I paid 9 cents a piece for these, is really good for bulk ammo. If I'm loading up a buttload of 223 and I'm just going to go blasting, or I'm looking at minute of man, 2-3 inches at 100 yards out of my blasting gun, totally fine. Nothing wrong with this stuff. However, I do get pretty good results. I put a scope on my 10.5 or it's now 12.5 inch AR, and I can usually get these around an inch. And so brands that you can look at that this is stuff that I've used most of these at some point. Hornady, which I kind of like them. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes of them right here. So Hornady, Berger, Barnes, Sierra, Spear, Nosler, and Lapua. There are more. These are just the ones that I've used and the ones that I find the best results. Lapua are awesome. Hornady, I've got really good results, especially out of their tipped ammo. We'll go over that in a second. Bergers are super consistent, probably the second most consistent. Barnes are really good. I like Sierra. These are all good brands, and so that's why I use them. Styles. So we've got, let's see here. Well, you can't really tell, and it's going to be hard to see that, but that is a boat tail just as much as that's a boat tail. And so it's scaled down. You've got boat tails, you've got flat bases where the bullet literally goes like this, and then there's a 90-degree shelf. I actually have good results with those. I've never had a problem with those, even at distance. You've got hollow points, which, as you can see, there's nothing on this one. It's just there's a tiny hole in the front. You can use hollow points for defensive ammo. These are good for target because it traps a little pocket of air in the little hollow point and creates the perfect amount of aerodynamic drag and consistency. You've got polymer tipped, and with Hornady you have several types because this one is called the ELD match. Yes, make sure I'm not going crazy here. I'm going to put this lid on before I lose something here. And then these are called, the one on this side is called AMAX. It's a lighter colored tip. A lot of rumors saying, oh, they're the same bullet. It's not. They look different, everything, but the tips are different. The ELD match has a heat resistant tip. It's supposed to be good way out because over time and traveling through the air it's supposed to melt it and make it deform. The AMAX is the old tip, so it doesn't technically do that. However, I've never had a problem with it, but I do like the ELD matches. These things are super consistent, and I like them. Sierra also does tipped match bullets, tip match kings, tipped game kings, things like that. And so, generally speaking, when it hits something, the tip is going to get pushed down into the lead and copper that's in there, and it's going to open up really good. And so we've got hollow points, full metal jackets, which is just the copper completely covered. It's enclosed, so there's no opening. And I said, let's see, hollow point, full metal jacket, polymer tip, soft points, which the 5.56 was, and then the aluminum tips. The Hornady A tips have aluminum tips, and their 50 BMG stuff has some aluminum tips. And if you swage bullets, I know there's ways to get aluminum tips for those as well. And so moving on from there, a lot of times the types of, or the styles of bullets that you use are purpose driven. Are you hunting? You need to find a hunting bullet. Are you match shooting? Well, then you just find a low drag, very consistent bullet, things like that. And so that's how I choose my components. And just briefly, so I'll go down this. So I've got 150 grain SST bullets for my 308. These are hunting bullets. They're also very accurate out of my rifle so far. We have 168 grain ELD match that I just scored a box of. ELD match is really good for precision, but at extended ranges these hold up really well for hunting. So up close when they're traveling fast, they just explode inside of an animal, so I don't recommend that. Then I've got 168 grain AMAX. They're really good match bullets. They're not technically hunting bullets. However, I've taken a few elk and a deer with the AMAX in the 308, but I used 178s for that. These are 168s. And then I have 178 grain boat tail hollow points. Technically a match round and precision round. I've never hunted with a hollow point and probably won't. So that just kind of shows you, you've got to find something that's purpose driven for your rifle. Then you got to find what your rifle likes. Brass you can get away with, generally speaking. The quality of brass just kind of indicates how long it'll last. You've got to find the right powder, the right bullet, and well, long story short, find the right powder and bullet combination. I've never seen a big difference in the types of primers that I've used on consistency or accuracy, and to include how many feet per second. But with powder and bullet, I definitely have, and so that's where you want to spend most of your research time. And so I hope that helps a little bit as we move forward into the next section, which should be video 4. And we're going to start with case prep and show you how I do all that. And so let me know if you think I missed something, but we covered primers, brass, powder to fill it, and then bullet to go in here. So that's the components I choose and why I choose them, kind of. And I hope that helped. And with that, we'll see you later.